The old neon sign of the Moonlight Motel flickered against the darkness, casting pink and blue shadows across the empty parking lot. It was 3 in the morning, and the world felt perfectly still. Sarah Martinez had been working the night shift at the motel for 2 years now, and she had grown to love these quiet hours when the rest of the world slept. She moved through the dimly lit hallway with practiced ease, her cleaning cartwheels squeaking softly against the worn carpet. The familiar scent of lavender cleaning solution filled the air as she worked. Room by room, she restored order to the spaces that travelers had left behind. It was honest work, and though it didn't pay much, it helped her save money for nursing school. Sarah had always been the type of person who noticed details. She noticed when the coffee maker in the lobby needed cleaning, when the ice machine was running low, and when guests needed help but were too proud to ask. Tonight, as she passed room 237, she noticed something different. A thin line of light glowed beneath the door, and she could hear muffled sounds from inside. At first, she thought it might be a television left on too loud. But as she paused to listen, she realized it was something else entirely. Someone was coughing, deep and persistent, followed by what sounded like labored breathing. Sarah hesitated. The motel had strict policies about disturbing guests, especially at this hour. But her instincts told her something was wrong. She had grown up in a family where taking care of others wasn't optional. It was simply what you did when someone needed help. She knocked gently on the door. "Excuse me," she called softly. "I'm Sarah from housekeeping. I heard coughing and wanted to make sure everything was okay." The coughing stopped abruptly. After a long moment, a hoarse voice answered, "I'm fine. Just ... just a cold." But Sarah could hear the strain in the man's voice, the way he had to pause between words to catch his breath. She knocked again, a little more firmly this time. "Sir, I have some throat lozenges and hot tea in my cart. Would you like me to bring them to you?" There was another pause, longer this time. Then the sound of footsteps across the room, slow and unsteady. The door opened just a crack, and Sarah saw a man's face in the shadows. Even in the dim light, she could see that his skin was flushed with fever, and his eyes were glassy with illness. "You don't need to ... he began, but another coughing fit cut him off. "Let me help," Sarah said simply. "I'll just get you some supplies and be on my way." The man looked at her for a long moment, as if trying to decide whether to trust her. Finally, he stepped back and opened the door wider. "Okay," he whispered. "Thank you." Sarah quickly gathered what she needed from her cart: a box of throat lozenges, a small packet of honey, and a thermos of hot tea she always kept with her during the long night shifts. When she returned to the room, she found the man sitting on the edge of the bed, still wearing what looked like an expensive navy suit, though it was now wrinkled and disheveled. "I'm Sarah," she said, setting the items on the small table by the window. "Marcus," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "Marcus Davidson." Sarah prepared the tea, stirring in honey and making sure it wasn't too hot. She handed him the cup and watched as he took small, grateful sips. The color began to return to his face, and his breathing seemed to ease slightly. "You should try to get some sleep," she said gently. "Rest is the best medicine for whatever you're fighting." Marcus looked up at her, and she saw something in his eyes that went beyond physical illness. There was a sadness there, a weariness that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than a simple cold or fever. "I can't sleep," he said quietly. "Every time I close my eyes, I see ... He trailed off, shaking his head. Sarah pulled the room's single chair closer to the bed and sat down. In her experience, sometimes people needed to talk more than they needed medicine. "See what she asked." Marcus was quiet for a long time, staring into his tea. When he finally spoke, his voice was heavy with emotion. "I was supposed to get married yesterday," he said. "Big wedding, 300 guests. My family, her family, everyone expecting me to go through with it." Sarah waited, sensing there was more to the story. "But I couldn't do it," Marcus continued. "I realized I was marrying her because it was what everyone expected, what was good for business, what would make my parents happy. But I didn't love her, not the way you're supposed to love someone you want to spend your life with." He looked up at Sarah, his eyes filled with regret. "So I ran. I left her at the altar, disappointed everyone I care about, and ended up here. And now I'm sick, and alone, and I've made a mess of everything." Sarah reached over and gently touched his hand. "You're not alone," she said softly, "and sometimes the hardest thing to do is also the right thing to do." Marcus stared at her in surprise. "But I hurt people. I embarrassed my family. I probably ruined her life." "Did you talk to her?" Sarah asked. "Before you left?" Marcus nodded. "Slowly, I went to her room that morning. I told her I couldn't marry her, that it wouldn't be fair to either of us. She was upset, but ... double quotes." He paused, thinking. "She said she understood." She said she had been having doubts too, but didn't know how to say it. Asterisk, then maybe you didn't ruin her life, Sarah suggested. Maybe you saved both of your lives from years of being unhappy. Asterisk, they sat in comfortable silence for a while, Marcus sipping his tea and Sarah simply being present. She had learned that sometimes the greatest gift you could give someone was simply showing up, being willing to listen without judgment. Asterisk, I don't know what to do now, Marcus admitted. I've spent so much of my life doing what other people expected, that I don't even know what I want anymore. Asterisk, Sarah smiled. Well, you have time to figure it out. But first, you need to get better. Your body is telling you to rest, so maybe you should listen to it. Asterisk, Marcus managed a weak smile. You're very wise for someone so young. Asterisk, I'm 24, Sarah said with a laugh, and I've learned that wisdom doesn't always come with age. Sometimes it comes from paying attention to what really matters. Asterisk, she stood up and moved toward the door. I'll check on you in a couple of hours, try to get some sleep. Asterisk, Sarah, Marcus called as she reached the door. She turned back. Thank you. You didn't have to help me, but you did. That means more than you know. Asterisk, we all need help sometimes, she replied. That's what makes us human. Asterisk, as Sarah continued her rounds, she found herself thinking about Marcus and his story. She had met many people during her time at the motel, travelers, business people, families on vacation. But there was something about Marcus that stayed with her, something about his honesty and vulnerability that touched her heart. Asterisk, when she returned to check on him 2 hours later, she found him sleeping peacefully, his breathing steady and calm. She left fresh tea and more lozenges on the table, along with a note, rest well, tomorrow is a new day. Sarah asterisk the next morning, as Sarah's shift was ending, she saw Marcus in the lobby. He looked much better, his fever had broken, and though he still looked tired, there was something different about him. He seemed lighter somehow, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Asterisk, how are you feeling? She asked. Asterisk, much better, thanks to you, he said. I've been thinking about what you said last night, about figuring out what I want. Asterisk and asterisk, I want to start over, really start over, maybe travel for a while, see places I've never seen, meet people I wouldn't normally meet. He paused. I want to find out who I am when I'm not trying to be who everyone else wants me to be. Asterisk, Sarah smiled. That sounds like a wonderful plan. Asterisk, Marcus hesitated for a moment, then reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. I know this might sound strange, but I'd like to stay in touch. You helped me more in one night than anyone has in years. I'd like to return the favor someday. Asterisk, Sarah took the card and glanced at it. Her eyes widened slightly as she read, Marcus Davidson, CEO, Davidson Industries. She looked up at him with surprise. Asterisk, you single quotes re ... She began. Asterisk, Rich. Yes, Marcus said, quietly. But last night, I was just a sick man who needed help, and you helped me without knowing who I was or what I had. That's rare. Asterisk, Sarah handed the card back to him. I helped you because you needed help, that's all. Asterisk, Marcus smiled and gently pushed the card back toward her. Keep it, not because of what I have, but because of what you gave me. Hope, and sometimes that's worth more than anything money can buy. Asterisk, as Marcus walked toward the parking lot, Sarah watched him go. She didn't know if she would ever see him again, but she knew that their brief encounter had changed something in both of them. Sometimes the most important moments in life happened when you least expected them, in the quiet hours when the world was still, when one person simply chose to care about another. Asterisk, the morning sun was beginning to rise over the Moonlight Motel, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and gold. Sarah tucked the business card into her pocket and smiled. It had been a good night, the kind of night that reminded her why she believed in the basic goodness of people. Asterisk, and sometimes that was enough to change everything.